Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's April 27th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and this will wrap up our week. No chart lessons on Fridays, but we'll be back again to do it on Monday. But let's talk about today's trades, today's setups. Really, it was just another range day. We had a little bit of a trend down. This was just kind of a mess here, sideways. And we had a little trend down, and we had a really nice trend back up. Although there's not a lot of opportunities to enter it, it's still a really good trend here. And that really got you almost into the afternoon. There were a couple of trades this afternoon you might have considered as well. So not a lot of trades today, a few green ones. It just was really slow early on. Really coming off these highs and these lows, you want to wait on a higher low. Um, if you're going long, and a lower high if going short, and you just didn't get much of that. So um, you're really just swinging back and forth here, hung in this range here, and you can see this actually extends on a little further here, across here. So there just wasn't a lot of opportunities. So, um, but let's talk about the trades they are here, and we'll call it a week. Back out just a little more and make it a little easier for you to see here. Um, Early on, I mean, you really had to kind of be patient till first hour or so. I'm not crazy about any of these trades, really be honest with you. This one here, I kind of like this one. This one's real close to this very first trade in the green here. It's very close to being a blue, but I still made it green simply because there's a lot of sideways action, and that's not a really, I mean, it's more bearish than it is neutral or bullish, but it's still not a great bar. I would have liked it better if it closed on its low. But notice what it is. It's a double top, and it's a little failed break higher above these three matching bars. And we're a good bit away from the EMA, so we're, on a sideways day, we're probably going to come back here pretty quickly. And this could be, the overnight high, which it did kind of turn out to be the overnight high, even though we made a little bit higher high right after the regular open. If you're not familiar with my chart, the lighter blue is the overnight stuff, and the lighter white is the regular open here at 8:30. And generally, actually, this white should go all the way to 3 or whatever, 3:15. But I cut it off at 2 o'clock because that's generally, we don't trade outside that 2 o'clock hour. And you can see that this is a great example. There's just nothing much happening there, and you probably would have lost money if you try to trade that. Um, so for that reason, we don't trade after 2 o'clock. That's generally our cutoff time. So, but yeah, this was definitely rangy. You can see that we've got a range going on here, and this is really just a failed break outside of this level here. And this is a low, considered a lower high. We're a little bit away from the EMA. You got what looks like a trend line going up, but you don't have it confirmed yet or anything really. So you might consider going short there. And it's real close to being blue, but because we do have a possible trend line working higher here, and because it's not a perfect setup, I made it green. But you could argue for it to be right there at the blue threshold, so we'll leave it at that. But notice what happens. You got a new high, pull back first entry, pull back. There's a second entry long there. Again, it's not a great setup, but if this trend line is valid, on a second entry with a fairly bullish bar. If it wasn't for this inside bar, I would have liked this one a lot better. But it's this inside bar that throws me here with the lower close twice in a row and the two bar matching high. That concerns me. They both closed rather bullish though. So there's still some reasons to take that second entry long, just hoping to make a new high. And notice what happens. We run up, we make a new high, and then it turns down. And so now you're moving lower here. You need to wait on a lower high here, in my opinion, since we got a brand new high, and we don't get one until way down here, right into this previous low. And I think you just got to wait. That's not a very good signal bar. Nothing good about that entry. So I'd be more apt to, when it broke lower here and turned up, I'd be more apt to go long here than anything. But again, it's not a very good signal bar. The second one touched the EMA and closed lower, so not a very good bar there. You can't really look for an alternative entry there. Um, you're better off to wait. And notice what happens. You do come back up. You get a close outside this trend line. You move back up, make a new high, and it turns down. And this is a great example of why I like to wait on a lower high if you're trying to get short off these highs, particularly since you're not any further away from the EMA than that. If you were way away from the EMA here, I'd say, hey, it might be worth risking with that big bearish bar. This is a good example of what happens. It goes lower just enough to get you sucked in, and then it stops you out, and then it goes right back exactly where you thought it was going to go to begin with. So you might consider that one. On my chart, if you entered on a stop here, you'd have had a 4-tick failure. So most likely you would not have got out of this. It's still possible, but generally on a limit order exit, you got to trade through it before you're going to get out. So you're probably going to take a loser here, 4-tick failure, if you don't scratch out, or if your bar, unless your bar is a little bit different than mine here. So. But notice what happens. It pushes down and you get that failed second entry short that reverses. So I like this one, but again, you really need to have enough room to get out here. This is a trap, and generally if you see a trap in a position like this, they probably trap people so they can run it up and run these stops up here. And that's exactly what happens, and it turns down. Again, we're not far enough away from the EMA where I'm going to risk until I get a lower high. But look what happens here. You push right through the EMA, and notice there's a leg down, a little correction, and then there's another leg down. And so this is technically, you could treat this like a second entry long, but either way, it still pushes through the EMA, pulls back, and you wouldn't have had this trend line most likely, but even using the short term one here, it's the first break. By this time, since you made a lower close here, you probably would have moved that line down. So you do get enough room there. And if you get a measured leg like this one, then you're probably going to trade way down here. And you can see where the buying started coming in about a measured move there. There's your first leg. And if you look for a measured move, guess where it's probably going to bounce? Right in here. And it does bounce there before it goes lower. But I don't think you want to get on short that far away from the EMA. That's not a high probability trade. So we're going to skip that one. But then you come down here, you make this new low, it bounces off right off the lower trend channel. Pushes lower and again creates a little trap and turns up. Now you might have gone long here, and even here you might have considered long. I really like these trades because a lot of times you'll catch the low of the day or a major low here. And even here, you're getting higher or low, but by the time it turns lower, and this is one of those that turns lower and then turns and goes right out the other side. So you might consider entering there. The only problem is you don't have a lot of room before it gets to the EMA, so you might let it break higher and then drop a limit order back just to give yourself enough room to get out. And if you can get in that way, I'm okay with entering there as well. Both of those I'm going to leave as more aggressive. You get what looks like a reversal pattern here. You really didn't push through the EMA, but notice it's 2 attempts that go lower that fail. But this is right into the EMA. It's the first break of this trend line. I think you need to skip that one and just see what happens. And notice it goes up. It probably would have worked. I think there's enough room in there. It's going to be, at the very least, it would have been a failed 4-tick failure, which is you hate those. Those are the worst kind, to see it bouncing off your exit order and then you not get filled and it reverse on you. So, but anyway, I think you're better off not to go long there to begin with. And since it's the first break, and this is a pretty good move down, so we're probably going to retest this low with that strong move down. And so you do turn down right here. You come back, you get a lower high. It did. And look, and this is another one. It broke higher and then turned and went out the other side. I like having a sell stop right there. Just trying to ride it down to this low and test the low, if nothing else, and maybe make a new low. And it does that. You got a little breakout pullback short here, but I wouldn't take that right into the low of the day, especially right at what looks like strong support. And it bounces. You get a little failed break lower, but you're not far enough away from the EMA to be entering on that one. You get a lower high here, same thing. That close to the EMA. See if you can get the reversal pattern that pushes through and pulls back and gives you the failed second entry. And look what happens. It pulls back, gives you the failed second entry. Just go long right there. And if you catch that one trade, that's all you need for the day. I mean, you're going to get, let's just say 21, let's call it 23.81. And even if you got out a couple of points, even if you just got out at the high up here, that's 6 points probably you get off that trade. And if you could, you're not going to get it all, and you don't, so don't, if you don't get it all of every move, don't let that bother you. Don't lose any sleep over it, because you don't have to get it all, and it's almost impossible to get all of it. You just want to get your share of the move and not be greedy, and that way you get in and you get out safely, and you're not sweating the trade and making mental mistakes and so forth. So don't worry if you don't get it all. I mean, this thing could have kept going for another leg just like that, but if you miss it, don't sweat it, because all that does is what it'll do is it'll motivate you to try to sneak in next time, and the next time it doesn't do that, and you take a loss, or you hang on and you give back all your profit. So don't let that kind of stuff sweat you, because it really causes you to make mental errors. So we just want to get a piece of every move, and if we can do that, we should be happy. And so that's my point, really. But notice we get this failed break higher. This is definitely a range day, and we failed above that last high. Wait on that lower high, which comes right here, and we're still a good ways away from the EMA, so I feel safe taking that one. Only thing that might have scared you out is we never broke lower below it until this bar. So really, you couldn't enter on this one. You just wait, enter on this one. But this one did go higher and then turn and come out the other side. So you could have already been in that one. But if you waited on this bar, you wouldn't have entered till here. So, but if you're already in, I like adding on here. You're still a little ways away from the EMA, and you're definitely a little ways away from where the trend line would be. And you confirm this trend channel right here. And so I like entering both of those. And just look to ride it back to the trend line. You might get lucky and it might go lower, so you might try to hold on to a runner here a little longer. But once it started going higher here, I would have exited, because you may go back and try to make a new high. But look what happens. It meets that previous support or resistance area, and you got a little 2-bar matching high, and it ticks higher and fails. And look how bearish that is. It is right into the EMA. It is only a first entry counting off the lows, but it's a double test of this level. And if you look back, there's several days where that same level has held prices. There it is right there. Notice how it's acted as support and resistance back that day, somewhat on this day. And so if you look back there, it's been an important price level for a while. So you might consider going short right there. And it's a big bearish bar. And if you do, your first target you want to consider, hey, we may get a measured leg. So go ahead and measure that and just get an idea where that's at in case we do, in case we do head that far. And you can see we got a perfect measured move there. It might have even went one tick further. So that's perfect. Well, that's what you want to see. Okay, I had a little interruption there, but yeah, you get a perfect measured move right there, and that's, you can't, I mean, that's as good as it gets. It's not any clearer than that. One leg down right there. So once you head lower, hope for that measured leg. That should be your first target, and there it is. And I mean, we got it to the tick. You can see it right there. Like I said, it might even be one tick further. I'm just really curious. No, it's to the tick. Perfect measured move. So that would have been my first target if I got a runner, and I probably would have tried to exit a tick or two in front of that. If I had multiple runners, I might take a couple of them off and try to save one just in case we continued lower. But you would have you would have gotten usually by getting that measured move, you're going to get the gist of it, and you can look for another opportunity to enter. And since that's after 3, I'm probably going to exit right there, or after 2 o'clock, I should say. And you did end up getting a reversal pattern out of it here, where you probably could have got one more scalp out of it before it reversed. So, but anyway, uh, not a great day, but not a bad day either. It was a little slow getting started. If you had trouble over here, that's just because it's not doing anything. It's just chopping sideways, and you really only your only way to enter this is off the highs or off the lows, and leave it at that. So if you don't get that, you're better off probably just stay out. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is going to be it for the week. We'll be back again to do it Monday. Hope you had a good week. Hope you have a great weekend as well. We'll be back again Monday. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.